Yeah, man. And I am back again for another episode, for another Bang Easy. And like always, I am your lovely and wonderful host. I am Demi the Creator, and you guys are tuned in for the Back of the Class show. And I would like to say thank you. I'd like to say shout out, shout out, shout out. We are up, like subscriber counts is going up somehow. Consider the fact that actually I haven't been posting a lot on like socials. Like I haven't posted at all on socials. It's very interesting to see that my views are like kind of going up, like subscribers as well, and interactions as well, which I'm very happy about. Comments, likes, like it's like shout out guys, like thank you very much. But with that being said, if you still haven't subscribed, why haven't you? Please do so now. Click on the button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you're listening or watching or whatever it is that you're doing. And also, interact with the content, send comments, send messages, and do whatever, slide into my DMs, and you can slide into my DMs on @BackOGClassShow. If you're trying to slide into the podcast DM, but if you're also like trying to fucks with me, you can follow me at Dami_the creator. And so with that being said, let's hop into the agenda for today. So today I kinda wanna take another detour from like what I actually want to talk about. And basically I was going on TikTok. I was actually on TikTok, and I found several videos. I found several videos on the conversation on the topic of like the race card and things like that. Because like there was an incident in the US, like there always is, and as usual, there's always like retaliation towards black people, speaking on racism and how they're being discriminated against. Oh, speaking of which, shout out to the Montgomery English. Shout out to the Montgomery bro. That shit was fire. I wanted to talk about it last week, but I got busy talking about something else. But that shit was fire. And also like there's a lot of stuff happening. Shout out to my niggas in Niger, if you know. Shout out to Africa, shout out to Africa right now, because like a whole bunch of stuff is happening, like continuously happening, and it's also kind of hard to follow and kind of like get a sense, because on the one hand I'm very happy that that countries are taking steps to be actively anti-white and anti-Western whiteness, and I fucks with that, because like take away the whiteness, take away the imperialism, because imperialism never left. Take that shit away. Let's toss that in the trash. But at the same time, I was talking to someone else, and she made a very good point about how like there's this whole concept of like non-Western countries, so like African countries and ethnic countries, really needing like a strong man to like be in control and lead the country, which to some extent is quite patriarchal, and I could understand which was and it does make sense, because I also agree with that as well. But for me, primarily I'm more on the vibe of like, let's be anti. I think both are correct. But yeah, me, I'm on the vibe of like, let's be anti-imperialism. Like that's my primary thing. But I can also understand how the whole concept of like military rule and stuff like that feels quite patriarchal and quite maybe to some people it feels also quite reductive and like backward stepping. But yeah, anyways, shout out to the steps being taken to like take away white Western powers from the continent of Africa, and I love that for us, bro. But yeah, anyways, and I know my country is quite useless. Let's not even go there. I know my country is doing fuck all. But let's not go there. But with that being said, I came across a couple of videos on the topic of like racism and the race card and things like this. And like always, it's people always being like, oh yeah, black people, like to play the race card, like to call everything racism, yada yada yeah. But it's like, while you're so worried, like deep this, while you are so worried that black people play the race card, and that black people can play the race card, and that black people do have access to the race card. I just said the same thing in 3 different ways, but that's besides the point. Why are you so worried about the fact that black people have the race card to play? I am worried about the fact that that card is in the deck at all. Because, like, for me to play that card, it means that something put it in there. And what do you think put it in there, nigga? White supremacy. So it's like, think before you speak. Before you point the finger, remember that there's three of them pointing back at you. Like, always do some reflection, always do some introspection, and always do some critical thinking. Because if black people have a race card to play, if black people can say, hey, that was racist, then the question is, why does that exist? Because if you're so butthurt about that, you should also be butthurt about why it exists to begin with. Like, black people didn't choose to be able to, like, be racially discriminated against. We didn't choose that. It was something that was forced upon us, and it was something that we just have to deal with. Yep. And I was just having a conversation with a couple people. I think last week, a couple days ago. I don't know, whenever it was. And we're also talking about, like, yeah, we're also talking about, like, the whole race thing, and, like, what is Jesus, what is appropriation, what is all of this, and the role that black people have in, like, quote unquote educating people on what racism is. And it's like, I don't think black people have a role when it comes to educating people. Because here's the thing, you know, we all know this, but, like, white people get to pick and choose what aspects of, like, blackness, what aspects of the black culture that they want to experience, that they want to, like, exhibit on a certain day. But on the flip side, black people don't get to choose. You know, we don't get to choose. We don't get that luxury of choice. If anything, we're actually forced to participate in whiteness on a daily basis, because we're just, like, thrust into a white supremacist society, and we have to deal with that. And then having people try to, like, put our culture back in our face when even we are not allowed to experience our culture to the full extent of it. It feels insultive. Like, it feels like, yeah, it is ignorant on the parts of, like, white people. It is very ignorant, and it's like, why do I have to then be the one to educate you, especially considering the amount, the wealth of resources, and the wealth of content that you can consume to educate yourself. So it's like expecting a black person close to you, near to you, to be your educator is very weird, because it's like, no, why do you want to be breastfed? Because, like, I as a black person, I didn't get spoon fed racism. It was just thrust at me. Like, I just had to experience the brunt of it, like this, all in one go. Like, I didn't get to choose, hey, let me explore this part of what it is to be racist, and racism, and anti-blackness. I just got thrust into the deep end. Like, I was forced to experience what it is to be a black person in a Eurocentric society. So it's like, you who have the privilege to not have that forced upon you. It's like, why are you trying to get me to hold your hands and walk you through this valley? Like, you can initiate, you can take this journey on your want, you can do your research, and expect, and okay, yeah, ask questions when you want to, when you feel like you need to, but don't expect, or don't get butthurt when someone refuses to answer, because it's like, no. Because also imagine, because black people are constantly living in a state of, like, of fear, in a state of always of being afraid of being discriminated against, in a state of, like, just living in a white society. And on some days, I'm just trying to chill. Like, sometimes I'm just trying to be in bed, you know, completely zone out of my existence, and then have, like, having a white person just be like, hey, by the way, this and this and that, yada yada, and now you're thrusting me back into whiteness, and it's like, I don't want to think about racism on certain days, and you randomly asking me about that is kind of forcing me to think about it. And if I don't want to answer, I just don't want to answer. And if your butt hurts about, like, me not wanting to answer your questions, or me not wanting to be your teacher, it's like, that's weird, because why do you want me to actively because to explain things to you, I actively have to experience the discrimination. Because yes, to you, you're learning stuff, but to me, I am reliving those things, because I have to speak from a place of experience, or, like, from a place of people's experiences around me. So like I have to relieve that moment, and I have to be in that moment again mentally in order to explain the emotions, in order to explain the pain and the hurt that I feel. I have to mentally put myself back into that space. And I don't want to do that. Like some days I'm just like, no. Some days like, racism doesn't exist, you know? And it's just weird. It's just weird. So something else I saw in the video and I just can't remember it. Damn. But yeah, the whole concept of the race card. Yeah, like white people also butthurt about like black people being able to be like, hey, that was racist. And I think to some extent it comes from a place of like not wanting to hold accountability, or like not wanting to be held. Sorry, that was not English at all. Jesus. Not wanting to be held accountable for their actions, or not wanting to like. And it's actually not just white people; it's also people of color. So like people of color outside of the black community, because POC solidarity is such a myth. Like it's such a myth. It barely if even it barely exists. And I was actually having a conversation with someone else the other day. Oh shit! Shout out to Georgie. Shout out to the homie. Oh shit! I probably shouldn't mention. No, I can mention her name. She did say I can mention her name in the podcast. But shout out to her for real. Shout out to the homie. I bumped into her while I was in a separate city. Like she was done with work, and I was just like on my way home and whatnot. And like we had a quick conversation about the snow bunny pandemic and the snow puppy revolution. And we're like talking about like interracial relationships and we also like delved into the parts of like the interracial relationship, like not with white people, but with POC people, and it's just like I hear it like, and we were talking about like how how like that's a separate type of a quote unquote problem, because like there is quite a lot of anti-blackness that happens in POC communities, like there's a whole bunch of so like I don't want to even talk about this. Why am I here? How did I get here? Breathe. Yeah, but like for instance, like some Asian communities, there's like a lot of anti-blackness where it's like if you bring a black person as your partner to the family, it's considered as a bad match. Like they look at your black partner as dirty, as useless, as just generally not a worthy person of being in their family. And we're talking about how like why those relationships deserve to be side-eyed a little bit. Like if you as a person of color know that your family is quite anti-black or quite racist, and you decide that you want to have a partner who is indeed black, then it's like, why did you decide that? Like, why are you okay with that? Not in the sense of like you also need to be anti-black, but it's in the sense of like, what are you willing to do? So like if your family is like strict, very like without any hope of being rehabilitated, without any hope of rehabilitation in your family, and you decide to have a black partner, it's like, okay, so what are you then willing to do to protect your black partner? Because are you going to leave your family alone to be with this person? Like, are you willing to leave your family for this person without this person even asking for it? Like that's the key part. Like without your black partner asking you to like leave your family, are you willing to do that on your own accord? And if the answer is no, you're not willing to do that, which is a fair answer, like that's your family for you. That's, you grew up with them, like those are your people them. Those are your people them. And it makes sense if you don't want to leave your people them like that. But now the question is, if you don't want to leave your family who is anti-black, who's going to discriminate against your partner, if you don't want to leave them, then doesn't that mean that you've mentally made the decision that you're okay with your partner being abused by your family? Because that is inevitably gonna happen. Because what? Because you take your partner to family events, and then your family is either giving him dirty ass stares, or they're actually making verbal comments, or God forbid, even physical comments. Look at One Piece. Look at left, right. So does that mean that you've mentally decided that you're okay with your family discriminating against your partner when you guys inevitably have to go for family events? Or have you decided that your partner is never going to meet your family and never going to attend family events? Or did you just not think about it? Did you did it not occur to you at any point that your anti-black family and your black partner are two opposing concepts that you're about to invite into your life? Did you just not think about it? And I don't know what part is even scarier, to be honest. Not thinking about it, or like deciding that you're okay with your partner being put in awkward situations. But even outside of that, you've also decided that in the event that you do decide that you want to have kids, in the event that you guys do decide you want to have kids and you guys do have kids, and yeah, and those kids also happen to be black, because or like happen to mixed race or whatever. So in the event that your kids also happen to have blackness in them, you've also mentally decided that you're fine with your kids experiencing said anti-blackness from your parents and from your family. So it's like, why are you trying to date a black person if you come from a racist or anti-black family? It's like, why? Just why? Just why? Wow, I just realized something. This whole week, like I've been actually, well, not this week per se, but like the past couple of days, well, the last 7 days, so like not this week, but like also last week a little bit. My life has been filled with a lot of conversations about the concept of race and racism and whatnot, and colorism as well. Not even just with like non-black people, but also with like black people as well, because like homegirl's a black woman in it. So yeah, it's like wow, it's like damn. And I also came to realize, because I started to talk about my podcast a little bit more than usual with people this week, because like oi, I also realized that I actually have a. That's gonna sound stupid. I realized that I have a podcast. Like it dawned on me that I had a podcast because like I was just chilling. Like I know I have one because like I talk about I don't. So like my very close friends, like the people that I talk to quite a bit. We do like mention it every now and then. Like hey, how's it? How's it going? Yada yada yada. Stress, editing, yeah. You know. But I was talking to people that I don't necessarily talk to as often, and a lot of them were like, "Hey, I peeped your podcast." I'm like, "You have a podcast?" And like, yeah, like you don't talk about it. And I'm like, wait, you know that I have a podcast? Like, and it's just a moment of like, wow, people actually know about this and people actually perceive me outside of like outside of just like my social media. Well, I guess this is also my social media to be fair. But I mean, like outside like just my personal Instagram and shit like that. Like people actually perceive me and people actually listen and people can actually hear. Because to me, this is kind of like just a throwaway thing. It's not like I edit, I post, and I don't think about it for the next week, literally. Because like the other day, I was actually walking and I was just like, wait, I actually have to record and post before Friday, and I was like, fuck, because I totally forgot that I had a podcast at some point during the week because it was quite hectic. I forgot I had a podcast at some point. I was like, oh, I should actually have to record. But like to me, yeah, basically this podcast was like kind of like a throwaway thing. It's just like I kind of just put it out there just for funsies, and people actually walk up to me and like mention it and talk to me about it, and it's just like wow, okay, like I get perceived, but it's just like just random ass stuff. Just random ass stuff. But with that being said, I think I'm gonna wrap this episode up here. Cause yeah, my mind is starting to like spiral, and like I'm having a lot of thoughts, and then I'm getting distracted, and like it's just so much happening in my head. And yeah, but basically, yeah, I'm gonna end the episode here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'd like to say very like big thank you to everyone who subscribed. And if you haven't yet, please do. Like I hope you do enjoy the content. And if you do enjoy the content, please do subscribe and whatnot. And I also like to like reiterate that yo guys, look, I pretty much studied numbers in uni and stuff like that. Like, like I'm not necessarily like I don't have like a I don't have a major in like a social political study or something. Like I honestly didn't even get any social political like courses at all during my bachelor's. And yeah, like pretty much everything that I know is from like personal research and like just reading stuff and watching videos as well. So it's like yeah, of course sometimes I'm gonna get some shit wrong, and I do really love the fact that people try to like be like, hey, you know what, I don't agree with this, and the other day I'm like, are kind of open to having a conversation about it. I do really love that, but also it's like maybe don't be rude about it because it's like I hear it, like, but maybe let's actually have a conversation. Don't just throw shit out there because because yeah. Anyways, I mean, it is the internet at the end of the day, so at the end of the day, I'm just gonna like do what I can. But yeah, basically, I'm just trying to say like, hey, also, please take everything that I say, because yeah, that's also something else. Because I've had people like kind of walk up to me and like try to ask me questions. Like, I don't know that much. I mean, I'll tell you what I know and what I think, but like, I really don't know that much. So take everything that I do say with at least a heap of salt, and and a couple Maggie cubes, because yeah, because like I said, my things are from personal experiences, personal research, and and just content that I consume. So yeah, that's that on that. Like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is that you consume my content on. Subscribe, interact with it, leave a comment. Someone commented comments, so shout out to her. That was very sweet, thank you very much. Comments, leave a like, leave a rating, leave a review, leave whatever it is that you can, and follow the socials at back OT class show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and follow me personally at Dami_the creator on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And like always, I love every one of you. And before you leave, let me introduce you to my newest friend. This is Bobby. I call him Bobby. He's a little boba plushie, like a milk boba plushie. I'm very happy with Bobby. Now that I look at the facial features, it does look like a she. But gender's a spectrum, and gender doesn't exist. It's a social construct, really. So yeah. So this is Bobby. This is Bobby, and they are a milk boba plushie, and I just got them recently, and I'm absolutely in love with them. There's also like some emotional, there's also like some emotional layers and like some emotional nuance that goes into Bobby, but that's for another day perhaps. And yeah, I love Bobby, and Bobby also says thank you very much for tuning in, and I will catch all of you next week. Say bye, Bobby. Bye.